Ultra-processed foods have become so deeply woven into everyday eating patterns that most people underestimate how dramatically they influence hunger, self-control, and long-term health. When examining how susceptibility to overeating these foods changes from adolescence to middle age, the picture becomes more concerning, not only because the risks compound over time, but because the mechanisms driving overeating actually shift in ways that make prevention more difficult as people age. In adolescence, the vulnerability is rooted in a mix of neurobiology and environment. Teenagers have reward systems that are still developing, with heightened dopamine responses to novelty, sugar, salt, and fat, meaning ultra-processed snacks are disproportionately stimulating. Their prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control, is not fully matured, so once triggered by sweet or hyperpalatable foods, the ability to pause and self-regulate is weaker than in adults. This creates a perfect storm. Foods engineered to be irresistible meeting a brain wired to chase intense sensations. The danger here is not only immediate overeating, but the creation of long-term patterns. Early exposure conditions adolescents to expect high reward from food, making natural, less stimulating foods feel boring. That shift alone can set the foundation for lifelong overeating or chronic dieting. By young adulthood, the issue often becomes behavioral and social. College life or early work years tend to encourage convenience eating, quick meals, energy bars, fast food, late-night snacking. Ultra-processed foods are designed to be fast, cheap, and emotionally comforting, so they become an easy default. Though impulse control is stronger than during adolescence, stress is higher, sleep is often worse, and routines are unstable. All three factors increase ghrelin, reduce leptin sensitivity, and make the reward centers more reactive to hyperpalatable foods. People in their 20s can often get away with it metabolically, but that illusion hides a creeping risk. The body becomes conditioned to high sodium, high sugar, and low fiber meals, gradually dulling satiety signals. Even if weight does not change, the risk of insulin resistance and early metabolic dysfunction rises long before symptoms appear. Moving into the 30s, biology becomes less forgiving. Metabolism naturally slows, muscle mass starts to decline unless deliberately maintained, and hormonal shifts change hunger and fullness cues. This is the age at which many people first notice that they gain weight more easily even when eating the same foods as before. Ultra-processed foods exploit this shift because their calorie density pairs disastrously with a body that burns fewer calories at rest. Fiber deficiency becomes more consequential, leading to blood sugar fluctuations that generate stronger cravings. Stress peaks during this decade for many: career pressure, childcare, financial instability, and chronic cortisol elevation further drives the desire for quick reward foods. Here, overeating often becomes cyclical. Stress leads to snacking, snacking leads to guilt, guilt leads to more stress, and the feedback loop strengthens the attachment to ultra-processed foods. By middle age, the susceptibility becomes even more metabolic and hormonal. People in their 40s and 50s often face declining estrogen or testosterone, both of which influence fat storage, appetite regulation, and energy levels. Lower hormone levels can increase cravings for high-energy, high-flavor foods precisely when the body is least able to handle them. Insulin sensitivity declines more rapidly in this period, so spikes from ultra-processed products create stronger crashes, leading to renewed hunger and overeating. Many individuals also develop reduced gut microbial diversity due to lifestyle pressures, lack of fiber, or long-term dietary habits, which can impair satiety regulation and promote weight gain. Ultra-processed foods worsen this by feeding the wrong microbes and starving the beneficial ones. At this stage, overeating is not simply a behavioral issue. It becomes a physiological trap that reinforces itself. Across all ages, the common thread is that ultra-processed foods exploit vulnerabilities: neurological in youth, behavioral in adulthood, metabolic in middle age. But the harms accumulate. The earlier someone falls into a pattern of relying on these foods, the harder it becomes to reverse the effects later. What begins as emotional comfort or simple convenience can quietly reshape appetite hormones, dull fullness signals, reduce microbiome diversity, and distort the brain's reward system. By the time clear warning signs appear, fatigue, blood sugar swings, stubborn weight gain, digestive issues, years of habitual overeating may already be at work underneath. The most important warning is that ultra-processed foods do not affect everyone equally at every stage, but no stage is safe. Adolescents are primed to become hooked, adults are pressured into convenience, and middle-aged individuals face biological changes that magnify harm. The longer these foods dominate the diet, the more entrenched the cycle of overeating becomes. Recognizing how vulnerabilities shift with age is not just useful, it is essential for breaking the silent progression from occasional indulgence to a life shaped by cravings, energy crashes, and preventable chronic disease.